Why is it that so many good men find themselves walking on eggshells around the women they care about? You're intelligent, hardworking, and you genuinely want to create a fulfilling relationship. Yet somehow, you found yourself constantly seeking approval, overthinking your decisions, and feeling like you're always one misstep away from disappointing her. Think about it. How many times have you hesitated before speaking your mind, worried about her reaction? How often have you abandoned what you wanted to do because it might upset her? The irony is that this pattern of behavior, the very thing you think is keeping the peace, is actually eroding her respect for you day by day. I understand this struggle intimately. The dance between maintaining harmony and standing your ground is delicate, especially when you care deeply about someone. But here's the uncomfortable truth many men need to hear. Constantly yielding control isn't kindness. It's a slow surrender of your authentic self. The problem isn't your desire to be considerate. The problem is that somewhere along the way, consideration transformed into compliance. And compliance, however well-intentioned, rarely inspires respect. You see, respect and attraction don't follow the rules we expect them to. We're taught that being accommodating and putting others first is the path to being valued. But in intimate relationships, this conventional wisdom often backfires. When you consistently prioritize her preferences over yours, you're not just making a decision about today's plans, you're setting a precedent for your entire relationship dynamic. But why does this happen? Why do capable, intelligent men find themselves gradually relinquishing their decision-making power? Part of it stems from genuine care. You want her to be happy, and sometimes it seems easier to adapt to her wishes than to navigate potential conflict. Another part comes from subtle social conditioning. The messages we receive about what makes a good partner often emphasize compromise to the point of self-sacrifice. And then there's fear of rejection, fear of disappointment, fear of being seen as selfish or insensitive. These fears are understandable, but they're poor foundations for building the kind of relationship where both people thrive. The most insidious part of this pattern is how it creates a self-reinforcing cycle. The more you yield control, the more control you're expected to yield. The more you seek approval, the more your actions are scrutinized. Eventually, even your reasonable boundaries are treated as obstacles rather than natural expressions of selfhood. Pause for a moment and reflect. Does making her happy often come at the expense of your own happiness? Do you find yourself constantly explaining or justifying decisions that should be yours to make? Has pleasing her become not just a desire, but a requirement for peace? If you're nodding along, then it's time to recognize that this dynamic isn't just unsatisfying, it's unsustainable. But here's where hope enters the picture. This pattern can be broken. The respect that seems elusive can be reclaimed, not through manipulation or power games, but through authentic leadership and a return to personal integrity. The shift begins with a fundamental understanding. True leadership in a relationship isn't about control. It's about clarity, consistency, and the courage to be genuine even when it's uncomfortable. Let me share with you a framework that can transform how you show up in your relationships, one that doesn't require you to become someone you're not, but rather to more fully embrace who you actually are. First, you need to reconnect with your values, not what you think should matter, but what actually matters to you. Ask yourself, what principles guide your life? What kind of partner do you genuinely want to be, separate from the expectations others have placed on you? This clarity becomes your compass, helping you navigate decisions large and small from a place of authenticity rather than appeasement. Leadership begins with self-knowledge. Without it, you're simply reacting to whoever has the strongest opinion in the room. Next, practice speaking your truth without apology. This doesn't mean being harsh or dismissive. It means expressing your thoughts, preferences, and boundaries clearly and directly. I'd prefer to do this instead carries more weight than, would it be okay if we maybe tried this instead? Notice how different these statements feel. One comes from confidence, the other from permission seeking. One establishes you as an equal participant in the relationship, the other as a subordinate waiting for approval. Remember, the goal isn't to override her desires. The goal is to ensure yours are given equal consideration in the relationship. Leadership isn't domination, it's direction. The third element is developing comfort with disapproval. This might be the hardest shift for many men, but it's perhaps the most crucial. The reality is that you cannot simultaneously be true to yourself and please everyone all the time. There will be moments when standing by your values means facing disappointment or disagreement from your partner. These moments aren't failures. They're opportunities to demonstrate that your self-respect remains intact even when external approval is withdrawn. Counterintuitively, this steadfastness often increases respect, even from those who initially disagree with you. Think of it this way. Would you respect someone whose convictions fold at the first sign of your disapproval? Probably not. Neither does she. The fourth component is consistency. Reclaiming your leadership isn't about making grand declarations or dramatic stands. It's about the small daily choices that gradually reshape the relationship dynamic. It's consistently honoring your word. It's reliably standing by your values, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's difficult. Consistency builds trust, and trust is the foundation of respect. Finally, embrace the art of decisive action. Analysis paralysis is the enemy of leadership. While thoughtfulness is valuable, endless deliberation signals insecurity. Learn to gather the necessary information, consider the options, then move forward with confidence. This doesn't mean you can't adjust course if needed, but it does mean you're willing to take responsibility for the direction, even when the path ahead isn't perfectly clear. Now, let's talk about what this looks like in practice. When she asks where you want to go for dinner, offer a specific suggestion rather than defaulting to whatever you want. When discussing weekend plans, express your preferences honestly rather than trying to guess what she wants to hear. When she's upset about something, listen with compassion, but don't automatically assume you're at fault. These might seem like small examples, but relationships are built in these everyday moments. Leadership isn't reserved for life's major decisions. It's exercised in the constant stream of choices that fill our days. As you implement these changes, prepare for potential resistance. If the dynamic has been established for some time, your new approach might initially be met with surprise or even pushback. This doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means the relationship is adjusting to a healthier balance. Stay steady through this adjustment period. Respond rather than react. Maintain your composure even when challenged. Remember that respect isn't demanded, it's earned through consistent demonstration of self-respect. A word of caution: there's a crucial difference between leadership and control. Leadership inspires, control diminishes. Leadership values the other person's agency, control seeks to override it. Leadership is rooted in personal integrity. Control is rooted in insecurity. The goal isn't to flip the dynamic so that your preferences always prevail. The goal is to establish a relationship where both people show up fully, communicate honestly, and make decisions collaboratively, with neither person's needs consistently subordinated to the other's. I've seen this transformation unfold countless times. Men who were once caught in cycles of approval seeking and resentment now navigate their relationships with confidence and ease. Their partners, rather than feeling controlled, feel secure in the presence of someone who knows who he is and what he stands for. The beautiful paradox is that by releasing the need to control her reactions, you actually gain more influence in the relationship. By stopping the constant accommodation that stems from fear, you create space for connection based on mutual respect rather than managed impressions. This isn't about becoming domineering or insensitive. It's about recognizing that the strongest foundation for a meaningful relationship isn't endless compromise. It's the authentic expression of two distinct individuals who choose to build something together. So ask yourself, what would it feel like to show up in your relationship fully aligned with your values? How might your connection deepen if you allowed her to see the real you, not just the version you think she wants? What could become possible if you stopped managing her perception and started manifesting your truth? The respect you seek already exists within you. It begins with respecting yourself enough to be authentic, even when it's uncomfortable. It continues with respecting her enough to believe she can handle your truth. And it culminates in a relationship where leadership isn't about control, but about creating a space where both people can be fully seen, fully heard, and fully valued. The choice is yours.